It began like any standard cycle in the central analysis hub. Recycled air, hum of servers, the quiet tap-tap-tap of data streams flowing into my console. I was Analyst Elian, Sector 7 Gamma, human designation, not a title that commanded attention. My days were a predictable rhythm of threat assessments and data integrity checks, the kind of work that kept the gears of the concordance turning, unseen, unacknowledged. I was, in all regards, unremarkable, until the summons. It bypassed the usual protocols, flashing directly onto my personal comm screen stark white text against the dull gray background of my workspace. Report to Level Theta, Sector Prime, immediate. No prefix, no pleasantries, just the chilling efficiency of an order that felt less like a request, and more like a directive carved in stone. Level Theta, Sector Prime, that was unusual. That designation wasn't in my security clearance. That was High Council territory, places whispered about in hushed tones, power centers I only knew through schematics and restricted access reports. My stomach clenched, a sensation as rare as these summons. My fingers, usually steady on the data keys, hesitated for a fraction of a cycle. Had I made an error? A catastrophic miscalculation in my last threat assessment? Analysts weren't meant to be summoned to Level Theta unless something had gone terribly wrong. But the order was explicit, unyielding. Immediate wasn't a suggestion in concordance protocol, it was a demand. With a breath that felt shallower than usual, I detached from my console, the quiet hum of my sector fatting behind me as I moved into the sterile, high-priority corridors. Each step echoed in the unnerving silence of Level Theta, the air itself feeling heavier, charged with unspoken significance. The officials I passed were not the usual technicians and analysts of the hub, but beings of different species, their movements sharp, their expressions focused, their insignias gleaming with authority. I, Analyst Elian, was out of my element. Sector Prime materialized before me, a vast circular chamber bathed in a cool, ethereal light. Figures stood around a central holographic display, their forms diverse, their postures radiating an intensity that tightened the knot in my stomach. Admiral Vorn, Director Jara. Counselors whose names I only knew from official communiques. They were here. For me, impossible. As I approached, Director Jara, her gaze sharp and assessing, acknowledged my arrival with a curt nod. Analyst Elian, she stated, her voice cutting through the charged silence of the chamber. Thank you for your promptness. No reprimand for error, no veiled threats. Just directness and something else. An undercurrent of urgency that was far more unsettling than any reprimand. We have a situation, Jara continued, gesturing towards the holographic display shimmering in the center of the room. A matter that requires a specialized perspective. The display resolved, coalescing into a planetary image, a swirling blue and green sphere suspended in the black void. Earth, my world. Suddenly, the sterile chill of Level Theta seemed to deepen, the hum of the hub resonating with a new, more ominous frequency. This summons, this unprecedented meeting, it wasn't about a mistake. It was about home. And something, judging by the gravity in the air, was profoundly, disturbingly wrong. My unremarkable Tuesday had just shattered, and the pieces I suspected would fall in ways I could never have predicted. The holographic display solidified, the swirling blue and green resolving into a familiar, painful image. Earth. Director Jara's words echoed in the sterile chamber, hanging in the air like a physical weight. Analyst Elian, she repeated, her gaze unwavering, the situation concerns your homeworld. Admiral Vorn, his scaled form shifting with barely suppressed impatience, stepped forward, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the room. The Concordance routinely assesses planetary threat levels, its standard protocol. Each world, upon achieving certain technological markers, undergoes a series of simulated galactic-scale crises. He gestured towards the display, which now flickered, cycling through abstract representations of cosmic disasters, nebulae collapsing, rogue AI swarms, extra-dimensional incursions. CH scenario, designed to test a civilization's resilience, its capacity to withstand the unpredictable chaos of the cosmos. Earth, Vorn stated, his tone flat, dismissive, registered as statistically insignificant. Pre-FTL technology, fractured governance, internal conflicts, by all metrics, a minor world, utterly unremarkable. He paused, letting his words hang, emphasizing the apparent insignificance of my home. And yet, he continued, a note of something akin to irritation, creeping into his voice, in every single simulation against every conceivable threat, Earth, indoors. The display replayed the simulations, now focusing on Earth's response within each cataclysmic scenario. Planetary defense grids, rudimentary by concordant standards, somehow holding against energy surges that should have vaporized continents. Societal infrastructure, seemingly fragile, re-establishing itself with impossible speed after simulated system-wide collapses. Humanity, fractured, chaotic, unremarkable humanity, consistently, bafflingly, refusing to be broken. Director Jara stepped closer, her voice thoughtful, contrasting sharply with Vorn's dismissive pronouncements. "It's not just survival, Admiral," she interjected, her gaze fixed on the simulated Earth. "It's the pattern of survival." Their responses are inefficient, almost illogical on the surface. They expend disproportionate resources in certain areas, neglect seemingly critical vulnerabilities in others, and yet consistently they achieve optimal outcomes. She turned her gaze back to me, her intensity sharpening. "Analyst Alian, your expertise lies in pattern recognition, in identifying anomalies within vast data sets. We need you to analyze this Earth anomaly from a perspective we, as non-humans, cannot replicate. Admiral Vorn believes it's statistical noise, an irrelevant deviation. I am less certain." Vorn scoffed, a dry, rasping sound. "Director, with respect, sentimentality has no place in strategic analysis. Humans are statistically insignificant. This anomaly is likely a data artifact, nothing more." Jara remained unfazed, her attention solely on me. "Analyst Alian, you are human, you understand their sentimentality, as the Admiral so eloquently puts it. You are also, by all accounts, an unremarkable human. Your profile, your analytical focus, it mirrors, statistically, the broader human baseline. That, paradoxically, makes you uniquely qualified for this task." My mind raced, trying to keep pace with the sudden shift in my reality. Unremarkable. They had used the word again, but this time it wasn't an insult. It was a tool, a deliberate choice. Jara continued, "We are tasking you with leading a covert observation mission to Earth. A small, discrete team. Your objective, to ascertain the nature of this anomaly. Is it truly statistical noise, or is there something deliberate at play? Are the humans hiding something?" She paused, her gaze locking with mine, the weight of the unspoken questions hanging between us. "Or, Analyst Alian," she concluded, her voice dropping almost to a whisper, "are we misunderstanding them entirely?" The weight of the unspoken question settled upon me, heavier than any directive, more compelling than any order. Misunderstanding. That single word resonated with a chilling possibility. Were we, the vast, all-knowing concordance, capable of such a fundamental error? Of overlooking something so crucial, so human? Admiral Vorn shifted impatiently, his skepticism still radiating from his posture. But Director Jara's gaze held a different weight, a blend of caution, curiosity, and a hint of something that might have been apprehension. The fate of galactic order, or at least the Concordance's understanding of it, might hinge on the answer to her question. And Analyst Alian, unremarkable Analyst Alian, was now tasked with finding it. "Director," I said, my voice steadier than I expected, the knot in my stomach solidifying into a strange, focused resolve. "I understand. I accept the mission. The word hung in the air, a commitment, a plunge into the unknown, a journey back to my homeworld not as analyst Elian, functionary of the Concordance, but as something else. Something tasked with uncovering the very essence of humanity, its hidden depths, its improbable, baffling resilience. And for the first time in my unremarkable existence, I felt a flicker of something beyond data analysis, beyond sterile reports and threat assessments. I felt anticipation. And perhaps just a sliver of fear. The silent witness slipped into the void surrounding Earth, a phantom ship cloaked in layers of phased array emitters and quantum distortion fields. From the bridge viewport, my homeworld hung suspended, a breathtaking swirl of azure oceans and verdant landmasses, deceptively serene against the black canvas of space. Cloaking systems nominal, Lyra's voice, calm and professional, echoed through the bridge. We are undetectable by conventional sensors. Phase 1 observation protocols initiated. Phase 1 was surface observation, a broad sweep of Earth's electromagnetic emissions, atmospheric readings, and visible spectrum analysis. We were looking for anything overtly unusual, anything that contradicted the Concordance's baseline data of a pre-FTL internally divided civilization. The initial hours were mundane, almost disappointingly so. Sensor readouts painted a picture of a planet teeming with activity, yes, but activity that seemed utterly, relentlessly ordinary. Commercial transmissions, entertainment broadcasts, scientific data streams. A torrent of information, certainly, but information that aligned precisely with the Concordance's projections. Cities sprawled across continents, arteries of transport networks pulsed with energy signatures, satellites orbited, diligently relaying cat videos, political debates, sports events. The sheer volume of human mundanity was almost overwhelming. Atmospheric composition within established parameters, reported Jennar, our environmental specialist, his multifaceted eyes focused on his readings. No unusual energy discharges, no exotic particulate matter. Pollution levels, regrettably, also within established Terran norms. A dry, almost sardonic note crept into his voice. Humans, it was well documented, were ecologically challenged. Another mark against any claim of hidden advanced capabilities. Societal stress indicators, I prompted, turning to Merrill, our cultural analyst. His slender form hunched over his console, antennae twitching with concentration. Merrill's role was to interpret the more nuanced data streams, social media chatter, news cycles, public sentiment analysis. Looking for signs of underlying tensions, societal fractures, anything to corroborate the fractured governance internal conflict Metric Admiral Vorn had so readily dismissed. The Earth anomaly with. Merrill paused, his antennae momentarily still, a rare sign of focused thought for his normally restless species. Surface indicators are chaotic as expected. Political polarization high, economic disparities evident, social unrest present, though within predicted ranges for a developing civilization with significant historical baggage. He hesitated, then added almost reluctantly, perhaps slightly less chaotic than predicted, considering the historical data, but statistically insignificant deviation. Statistically insignificant. The phrase echoed in my mind, a constant refrain in this mission so far. Everything on the surface pointed to Earth being precisely what the Concordance expected, unremarkable. And yet that persistent, nagging anomaly in the threat simulations refused to be dismissed. It was like staring at a perfectly ordinary painting, knowing, deep down, that something was subtly, almost invisibly, wrong with the canvas itself. Days bled into weeks, the silent witness orbiting silently, our team meticulously cataloging, cross-referencing, analyzing the seemingly endless stream of mundane human data. We observed their cities, their infrastructure, their social structures, their habits. The relentless pursuit of entertainment, the constant stream of trivial information, the seemingly endless internal bickering, the cyclical patterns of hope and despair that characterized their news cycles. It was all there, a chaotic, often illogical, but undeniably human tapestry. Admiral Vorn, I knew, would be vindicated by these surface readings. Humanity was unremarkable, case closed. But analyst Elian wasn't convinced. The subtle unease persisted, a low-frequency hum beneath the surface noise of Earth's apparent ordinariness. It was in the details. The almost imperceptible efficiency in resource management, despite outward displays of wastefulness. The understated elegance of certain technologies, masked by deliberately clunky interfaces and antiquated aesthetics. And the data flow, always the data flow. The sheer velocity of information processing across the planet, the seamless integration of disparate systems, operating with a speed and coordination that belied the outward chaos of human society. Lyra, I said, breaking the quiet hum of the bridge, a new line of inquiry forming in my mind. Focus sensors on resource allocation networks, energy grids, logistical pathways, communication backbones. Ignore surface-level data streams. Dig deeper. Look for hidden efficiencies. Lyra, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the light of her console, nodded, her fingers flying across the data keys, recalibrating the sensor arrays, pushing beyond the superficial noise, seeking the whispers beneath the surface clamor. It was then, as we peeled back the layers of carefully constructed ordinariness, that the subtle deception began to reveal itself. Not in grand gestures or overt displays of hidden technology, but in the quiet, almost invisible, optimization humming beneath the surface of Earth's seemingly chaotic existence. Humanity wasn't hiding a weapon. They were hiding something far more subtle, something far more profound. And the deeper we dug, the more unsettlingly, thrillingly clear it became. Earth's ordinariness wasn't accidental. It was a performance, a meticulously crafted planet-wide act of deception. And I, analyst Elian, was finally beginning to understand the true nature of the Earth anomaly. And it wasn't unremarkable at all. It was terrifyingly, brilliantly deliberate. Lyra's fingers danced across the console, rerouting sensor arrays, bypassing firewalls we hadn't even known existed until they flickered into view. "Deep scans initiating," she announced, her voice tight with a mixture of anticipation and unease. Penetrating surface layers, accessing core infrastructure. The holographic display shifted, the familiar image of Earth dissolving into a complex web of data streams, schematics, and architectural blueprints, far more intricate and layered than anything we had previously encountered. It was like peeling away the skin of an organism to reveal the astonishing complexity of its internal systems. But in this case, the organism was an entire planet. "Energy grid," Jennar murmured, pointing to a section of the display that pulsed with rhythmic energy flows. Decentralized, redundant, self-regulating, far beyond pre-FTL capabilities. It's fractal. Fractal, the term resonated with chilling accuracy. Earth's energy network wasn't a centralized system vulnerable to a single point of failure, but a self-similar structure, endlessly branching and reconfiguring, capable of rerouting power around any disruption with seamless efficiency. It was beautiful in a terrifying, almost organic way. "Logistics network," Merrill interjected, tracing lines of data flow that snaked across the planetary schematics. "Resource allocation, predictive modeling, it's anticipating needs before they arise. Waste is minimized. Redundancy is built into every layer. It's anticipatory." Anticipatory, not just efficient, but predictive. Earth's logistical systems weren't just reacting to present demands, they were anticipating future needs, preemptively adjusting flows of resources, personnel, and materials with an almost preternatural foresight. It was like watching a living organism adapt to future threats it hadn't even encountered yet. My gaze was drawn to the central nexus of the display, a dense cluster of interlocking data streams that pulsed with an almost sentient rhythm. Information management, I whispered, the realization dawning, chilling and exhilarating in equal measure. It's all connected. Every system, every network, every human interlinked in a way we didn't even comprehend. Lyra zoomed in on the nexus, the display resolving into a breathtakingly intricate network of interconnected nodes, data pathways weaving in and out of each other with dizzying complexity. Planetary-scale neural net, she breathed, her voice hushed with awe. Not artificial intelligence, not in the way we understand it, but something emergent. A collective consciousness woven from the very fabric of their society. A collective consciousness. That was the key. That was the Earth system. It wasn't about hidden weapons or advanced technology, not in the conventional sense. It was about organization. A planetary-scale, subtly interwoven, flawlessly optimized system of societal architecture, designed to project chaos and ordinariness on the surface while harboring a core of immense, silent efficiency. The deception wasn't about hiding what they were, but hiding how they were organized. How seamlessly, how efficiently, how resiliently they functioned as a collective entity. Run threat scenario overlays again, I instructed, my voice barely above a whisper, the implications of our discovery crashing over me in waves. Overlay concordance threat models onto this Earth system blueprint. Let's see how they really respond. The display shifted, the chaotic simulations of planetary destruction and galactic crises now interacting with the revealed architecture of the Earth system. And as we watched, the pattern became terrifyingly, brilliantly clear. The Earth system didn't just endure the threats, it absorbed them. Energy surges were rerouted through the fractal energy grid, their destructive potential diffused and dissipated across the decentralized network. Systemic shocks were anticipated by the predictive logistical net, resources reallocated preemptively, vulnerabilities shored up before they could be exploited. Societal collapses were not averted, but mitigated. The collective consciousness, that vast, hidden neural net, acted as a planetary-scale immune system, absorbing the impact, adapting, reconfiguring, enduring. "It's elegant," Jennar murmured, his voice hushed, almost reverent. "Brutally, beautifully elegant. They didn't build walls, they built a system of resilience, a system of enough." Enough, that word resonated, echoing Jarrah's earlier pronouncements. Humanity? Enough wasn't a military threshold, a line in the sand drawn in laser fire. It was something far more subtle, far more profound. It was the silent, unwavering declaration embedded within the very architecture of their society. They had built a fortress not of weapons, but of organization. A fortress of collective intellect, strategic foresight, and an almost unnerving capacity for quiet, understated resilience. Their enough was not a threat but a statement. A silent, planetary-scale checkmate laid down not in defiance but in wisdom. They had chosen to be left alone. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to simply exist on their own terms, shielded by a system so brilliantly, subtly, deceptively designed that it had fooled the concordance itself. "Run a full data analysis," I commanded, my voice still barely above a whisper, the weight of the revelation settling upon me heavy and profound. "Analyze the Earth system architecture, quantify its efficiency, model its projected resilience against all conceivable threats." And then I concluded, turning to face my team, my gaze sweeping over their stunned, awed faces. "Prepare a full report for Director Jarrah. Tell her we found the anomaly. And it's more remarkable than anyone could have imagined." The silence on the bridge of the silent witness was no longer the sterile hum of observation, but a silence pregnant with the dawning realization of a profound, galactic-scale truth. Humanity, enough moment wasn't a shout. It was a silent, breathtaking masterpiece of understated power. And the galaxy, I suspected, was about to be irrevocably changed by its quiet, devastating, and utterly brilliant revelation. The data analysis was complete. The Earth system blueprint shimmered on the central display of level Theta, a testament to humanity's hidden, breathtaking complexity. I, Analyst Elian, stood before the Concordance High Council, my voice echoing in the vast chamber as I presented my findings. "Honorable Councilors," I began, my gaze sweeping across the faces of Admiral Vorn, Director Jara, and the assembled representatives of 100 species. The Earth anomaly is not statistical noise. It is not an accident of data collection. It is deliberate. A hush fell over the chamber, the hum of the concordance itself seeming to soften, as if holding its breath. Our initial assessments were accurate on the surface, I continued, projecting surface-level scans of Earth onto the display beside the intricate blueprint. Pre-FTL technology, fractured governance, outward chaos, all present, all verifiable. But beneath that surface, we found something unexpected. I gestured towards the blueprint, the complex web of interconnections pulsating with light. What we perceived as chaos, as inefficiency, as unremarkable ordinariness, is, in fact, a meticulously crafted system. A planetary-scale architecture of resilience, optimized for adaptability, for endurance, for absorption. Admiral Vorn, his scaled form rigid, finally broke his silence, his voice still tinged with disbelief. A system? Of what nature, Analyst Elian? Military? Technological? I shook my head, projecting data streams onto the display, metrics quantifying resource allocation, information flow, societal response times. Not military, Admiral, not in the conventional sense. This is a system of organization. A fractal energy grid, a predictive logistical network, an information management nexus that functions as a planet-wide neural net. It's not designed for overt power projection, but for systemic immunity. A murmur rippled through the chamber as the implications began to sink in. Director Jara, her gaze intense, leaned forward. "Immunity?" she echoed, her voice thoughtful. "Immunity to what, Analyst?" "To everything, Director," I replied, my voice low, the weight of the revelation heavy on my tongue. "To systemic shocks, to external pressures, to galactic-scale threats of any conceivable nature. The Earth system, as we've come to call it, is designed not to defeat threats directly, but to absorb them, to reconfigure, to adapt, to endure, no matter the magnitude of the crisis." I paused, letting the silence hang, allowing the sheer scale of humanity's hidden achievement to resonate within the chamber. "In our simulations," I continued, my voice now carrying a note of awe despite myself, "Earth consistently survived because it wasn't merely defending itself. It was outlasting the threats. It was wearing them down through sheer systemic resilience." Counselor Xylek, a being of pure energy, flickered with sudden understanding. "Their patience, then, their famed human endurance, it's not just a cultural trait, it's engineered." "Precisely, Counselor," I confirmed, nodding slowly. "Humanity, enough moment, as we termed it, is not a declaration of war, not a show of military might. It's something far more subtle, far more profound. It's the silent unveiling of this system. A strategic masterpiece designed not to conquer but to be left, unbothered, to develop, to evolve on their own terms, shielded from external interference from us." The silence in the chamber deepened, stretching into a heavy, contemplative pause. Admiral Vorn, for the first time since the summons, was utterly still, his usual skepticism replaced by a stunned, almost bewildered expression. Director Jara, her gaze fixed on the Earth system blueprint, murmured, "They weren't hiding weapons, they were hiding wisdom." Days turned into cycles, the Concordance High Council locked in unprecedented debate. The implications of the Earth anomaly were seismic. Our entire understanding of galactic power dynamics, of threat assessment protocols, of first contact doctrines was suddenly, irrevocably, obsolete. We had been operating under the assumption that power resided in overt displays of military might, in technological superiority, in centralized control. Humanity had just demonstrated a different kind of power, a quieter, more profound strength, the power of systemic resilience, of intellectual foresight, of strategic patience that stretched across generations. The final directive, when it came, was unexpected. Not an invasion fleet, not an ultimatum, but a communication. A galactic-wide broadcast from the Concordance High Council, a message that echoed across every inhabited system, reaching every species, every civilization within our sphere of influence. High Chancellor Veen, her crystalline form radiating an unfamiliar humility, addressed the galaxy. For cycles beyond counting, the Concordance has maintained order through strength, through centralized authority, through the assumption of superiority. She began, her voice clear, resonant, carrying the weight of millennia of established protocol. Today we acknowledge a profound miscalculation. She paused, letting the weight of that single word sink in. We have encountered a civilization, Earth, a species we, in our hubris, deemed unremarkable. We were incorrect. The chamber gasped, a collective intake of breath echoing across species. Such an admission from the High Chancellor herself was unheard of. Veen continued, her tone shifting, taking on a note of something akin to respect. Earth has revealed to us a different kind of strength, a strength not of conquest but of resilience, not of domination but of wisdom. They have shown us that true power lies not merely in the ability to overcome threats, but in the capacity to endure, to adapt, to learn from the chaos of the cosmos, and to emerge not broken but stronger. Therefore, she declared, her voice now ringing with a newfound resolve, the Concordance issues a new directive. Effective immediately, our protocols are recalibrated. Our interactions with emerging civilizations will no longer be based on assumption and control, but on respect. We extend to humanity not an ultimatum, but an invitation to join the galactic community, not as a protectorate, but as partners. Partners in building a new galactic order, one based not on dominance, but on mutual understanding, on shared resilience, on the quiet, profound strength of enough. As the broadcast concluded, a profound silence settled over the level Theta chamber. And then, slowly, tentatively, a murmur began to rise, a buzz of voices, of shifting perspectives, of dawning comprehension. Admiral Vorn, his scaled form now relaxed, turned to me, a flicker of something almost like gratitude in his multifaceted eyes. "Analyst Elian," he said, his voice surprisingly subdued, "your unremarkable perspective, it seems, was precisely what we needed." Director Jira stepped forward, extending a hand, a gesture of respect, of acknowledgement, unprecedented in our interactions. "Elian," she stated, a hint of warmth in her usually sharp voice, "you returned to Earth to uncover an anomaly. You returned with a revelation. Humanity, enough moment, it wasn't a battle cry, it was a lesson the galaxy will not soon forget." And as I stood there in the heart of the Concordance, amidst the hushed awe and the dawning realization of a changed galactic reality, I understood. Humanity, enough moment wasn't just for us, for Earth. It was for the galaxy. It was a silent, profound shift, a quiet revolution of intellect and resilience that had forced the most powerful entity in known space to reconsider its very foundations. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, truly, deeply, remembered the moment humans finally, quietly, brilliantly had enough. Enough of being underestimated, enough of being overlooked, enough of being unremarkable. And in that moment of quiet revelation, a new galactic order built on respect, on understanding, on the quiet, profound strength of humanity's carefully concealed wisdom, finally, irrevocably, began to emerge.